I heard the Israeli government tried to buy your app. What's the story behind that?
The crazy story is they launched a $150 million fund. First offer letter came. Second offer letter came. When you see that many zeros on a check, dude, it tests you, man. But there's no bottom code. But that's like one part of it. The second part of it gets more serious, where now you're getting emails, letters, DMs that are more death threats and like, hey, if I ever see you, this is going to happen. It hit me at that point. Like, their families were getting slaughtered. They didn't have contact with their friends, family, cousins. There are kids that never got to see their first birthday. There are kids that never got to see their fifth birthday. How do you defeat people that know that death is the end? That's true. You can't. One night, I kind of had a dream. In that dream, I was arguing with someone about why they bought Starbucks. It came down to he didn't know. There's no alternative. One cup doesn't matter. And I woke up, and like the next 3 years of my life just flashed before my eyes.
Can you tell us about what the app does? Like, what does it do? What's the impact that it's had so far?
On a very surface level, the Boycat, you simply scan barcodes, search for brands, and you can find alternatives to them.
When you launch, you're going super viral. News outlets were like hitting you up. You also got a phone call at work. What's the story behind that? Before we start this episode, I want to flag that only 5% of you are subscribed to the channel. So please do consider subscribing, as it does help out the channel and does help bring out better guests in the future. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Adil Abbuthalha is the founder of Boycat, an app that has diverted over $200 million from companies supporting Israeli interests. Adil studied at UC Davis in California before starting his career in Silicon Valley, where he worked at a number of notable tech companies. In 2023, after the ongoing events in Palestine, he launched the Boycat app that would put him on government watch lists worldwide. In this conversation, I want to discuss how he transitioned from working in tech to building a mission-driven company that serves the Ummah, why boycotting is so important for Muslims, and how the Israeli government tried to buy his app. Adil, thanks for coming on. Good to see you again. Take me back to before October the 7th, right? You were working in Silicon Valley, living the tech bro dream. What were the thoughts going in your head? Like, what were your life ambitions back then?
Oh man, that's a journey. So I think understanding the why behind like founders and stuff is so important, because it's like it's what drives your career technically, and not just in like this life, but like the next two, And so the question I asked myself at the time was a very, I guess, a deep one for a 14, 15-year-old kid, but it was necessary because every week I can ask myself that question and discover. And the question is simply, on the day of judgment, when the prophet's scanning his entire ummah, and he stops at you specifically, how does he recognize you? And then as he continues scanning. And for me, I was like, all right, let's, somehow it was a blessing, because like I heard a couple of hadith talking about how if you took care of an orphan, you and the prophet like this in Jannah. And I was like, there's no higher status than me being homeboys with the prophet, Like no disrespect at all, but it's like, that's what you want to be, right? And so I was like, all right, my entire life mission is always going to be centered around orphans. Like, I just love that. I was naturally inclined to it. Technically, I have some in my family. I realized at that moment I could argue with both my parents, and that was the biggest blessing. The fact that I can argue with them is crazy, because you take that for granted. Like, in the moment, you're just like, oh, thanks for giving me another rule. Thanks for not letting me go out. Thanks for not doing this. But to even argue with someone is a blessing, because it means you have a relationship with them. And orphans aren't that fortunate for that.
Yeah.
And they're going through so much, and they get kind of tossed to the end, like the side of society. And for me, it was just like, I need to solve that issue.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very involved with like community work. Like, you had that strong purpose of strong drive from like a young kind of age.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I was surrounded by big tech, and it only catered to like the top 0.00001% of the world, where let's get you more likes on Instagram, let's get you more followers, whatever. It's like, but who's taking care of those kids on the street? It's like, who's putting food on people's plates? And it was never the big tech companies. They're not solving that. They're just, consumers and consumerism. And so I really wanted to solve that problem. Like, that's kind of where my entire thing was. No matter what I do, I'm going to move in that direction. And I caught the builder bug when I was young, right? When I was 13, 14, I was like, first company, second company, third company, or business. I won't call them companies. Just like random hustles that a kid could do. And I was raking in cash. 13-year-old, I was making $3,000 a month. I was like, dude, I'm a millionaire. I could buy whatever I wanted, crazy stuff. But
so when things were happening in like Palestine, towards the end of 2023, like, what were the thoughts that was like going through your head? What were those kind of feelings and emotions?
Yeah, I think it reignited my intention a lot, because I think I became complacent, because you get comfortable. You get comfortable with tech bro salary, man. You work for like 5-6 years, you have a Porsche, you have whatever you want, you can travel the world wherever, you can enjoy 90% of the world has to offer with tech bro salary, tech bro benefits. You can live a comfortable life, so on from there. But you're not a change maker, and you can't And when you see things like Philistine happen, you realize how powerless you are and how comfortable you are. And that's why every tech bro should go without a shower and then go without a bed for a day, at least a month. It reunites it. And so my thoughts were just very simple. It was like, look, there is a government destroying people. There is a government not listening to people. There's corporations backing this government. People are trying to unite. There was protests happening. There's petitions happening, emails happening, lawmakers being called, whatever. But nothing happened. And like, it didn't matter how much you were making at Google, how much you were making at Facebook, Amazon, whatever. It's like, why weren't they listening to you? It's because like we weren't speaking the same language. That was the reality, right? We didn't speak the same language as them. They were speaking the language of money, and we were speaking the language of words, ethics, morals, whatever it is. And it's cool because it wasn't an Arab or it wasn't a Muslim issue. It was a humanity thing. Like we saw non-Muslims doing this. We saw Christians. We saw Jews. We saw whatever it was speaking up against the slaughter in Gaza. But even with that, the collective unity, it didn't matter. And that's crazy, right? It's because they weren't speaking the same language. And I saw it happen. I was like, all right, 2 weeks they'll go by. Israel will stop. Like historically, that's what they did. Like last Eid, last Ramadan, everything is 2 weeks and then kind of slowed down. But day after day after day, you just saw that happen. And what really hit me was when I tried to go to the masjid as much as I can. And when I used to go, I start seeing more and more lines fill up. And it just, for me, it was weird because I live in a very diverse area, and there's a lot of Palestinians in the area. And you start seeing more and more, like the ones that wouldn't show up in the past, the ones that would only show up once a week, maybe once a month, like if you're lucky. Or some would only show up during Ramadan and stuff. But like, and no hate to that, but now they're coming back. So it's like seeing them make longer dua, making them stay at the masjid more, and so on from there. It hit me at that point. Like their families were getting slaughtered. They didn't have contact with their friends, family, cousins, whatever. But at that moment, I was just like, dude, we have to do something. And that's
so what's the story from there? Like, obviously, you're seeing everything that's going on. How did you know that this was the thing that you wanted to tackle? Because, some people got politically involved. Some people got closer with the religion. A lot of people start protesting. How did you know that this was the specific thing that you wanted to go after? And then how did the app come about?
It was built in me, I think, for the longest time. I didn't know. One, I hate politics. Two, I hate social justice. So the craziest thing happened, and I'm in this space. So it was wild. So I think what happened was really like, I was pretty consistent. And a really good lesson I learned at an early age was like, tahajjud is going to be your key to everything. Like it'll give you the answers. It'll help you be disciplined. It'll solve all these issues. And so one night I kind of had a dream. And in that dream, I was arguing with someone about why they bought Starbucks. And it's such a stupid dream. Like, I'm trying to sleep, bro. I have a dream about some random dude I'd never met in my life drinking Starbucks. I'm like, don't buy that. And, it just came down to he didn't know. There's no alternative. One cup doesn't matter. And so from there, and I woke up, and the next 3 years of my life just flashed before my eyes. I think it all started with the intention, like, I want to do something. And alhamdulillah, like, that inspiration came. And started aligning different philosophies and figuring out what actually works. And I'm a very practical person. I hate this idea of like, if we do this and we talk about this, there's going to be change. It's like, no, go do the change, be the change. I think even in Islam, it's like, if you see an injustice, like, do something about it, basically. If you can't do something, speak about it, and so from there. But I'm like, we're already trying to speak and nothing's happening, so let's do. And I learned basically right off the bat that individuals have to be united to create change. Like, that's how it all started. And I was like, what actually matters in life? What can you do on a daily basis? What can you do in Dubai? What can I do in California? What can someone do in Japan? What can someone do in the random rural parts of France, right? Like, what can you do to play a part? That's easy. That's not intrusive. Because if you try to do something so grand and like, I'm going to go get on a boat and, sail over there and be part of the resistance or whatever, it's like, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And not everyone can do that. And no one wants to do that. But what can I do on an individual level to clean my plate a little bit more and do my part? And that's kind of how everything just started falling into place, and I kind of understood exactly what I needed to do.
So what's the significance of boycotting? Because, I do feel like there's still a large, group of Muslims who feel like, it doesn't have impact or it doesn't have change. Can you talk to us a little bit about, why you chose this specific cause? And then, what's the significance of, tackling this from a financial point of view?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different reasons for it. But the first message to everyone who denies it is your rizq is written. If it's meant for you to go to bed with a full stomach, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a full stomach no matter what. But it's your choice based on what you put into it. You're never going to get anything less. If it's meant for you to make $1 million in a year, you're going to make $1 million in a year. It doesn't matter if you do it selling crack. if you do it selling Coca-Cola or you do it selling an ethical, good brand. Like, you're going to make $1 million in any way. And it's just a matter of how much vodka is going to be in this thing, right? And so there's no excuse not to. And it's arrogant, and it's you being selfish in this concept of convenience that you argue that boycotting doesn't matter and so on from there. But outside of that, going into the actual answer, is it has an impact. Your purchasing power collectively can change how the entire economy is run. If everyone in the world decided to stop buying a certain product, that company would be finished. And if that company ends up supporting something that you care about, so if they end up supporting Palestine, and we all buy that company, buy a product from that company, that entire company will expand globally. And you can help a company that supports the values that you care about. And you can guarantee like they won't be donating to IDF, they won't be doing certain things with leadership, they won't lobby, and so on from there. It's all about convenience. Literally, boycotting is all about convenience.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to sacrifice your convenience to make sure that you put your money in the right place at an individual level?
And how does the Boycat app like facilitate this? Like, can you tell us about like what the app does? Like, what does it do? What's the impact that it's had so far?
Yeah, so the impact has been crazy. Like, I originally made it, I was like, my friends and homies just need to learn a quick, fun way so that there's a shopping companion that helps you figure out what to buy and what not to buy. That's all it was. And then on the back end, the secret mission behind it was, let's collect and unify power. Let's use our data, numbers, and so on from there, and we'll influence governments and corporations. But on a very surface level, the Boycat app, you simply scan barcodes, search for brands. You can find alternatives to them. We even have a feature called Zoomies where you can find cafes in your area, restaurants in your area. Like, our goal is to expand the database of really good businesses and just give them all to the people. Like, it's really interesting. So I think a lot of times people think when you build a business, you have to build it alone. You have to just focus on yourself. Don't worry, like, cannibalize everyone else. And this is a very Western Silicon Valley approach where it's like, I'm going to slit your throat just so I can win. If you are making some money and even if I'm making $100 million, if I know you're making $1 million, I want your $1 million. Like, that's the Silicon Valley mentality. I'm going to undercut you. I'm going to do whatever. But Islam is so beautiful that it teaches us that there's no scarcity mindset. Like, Allah can give whatever he wants. Like, he is what we think of him, right? If we think that he can only give the entire Ummah $10 million today, that's all he'll ever give. But if we think he can give us anything we want, he'll give us anything we want. That's the reality. And in this, I try to draw my inspiration from like 3 prophets in general. Obviously, you should draw every single one. But for me specifically, it's like I had some sort of like natural tie to these specific ones. But Prophet Musa, Prophet Yusuf, and then our Prophet ﷺ is kind of been my inspiration for a lot.
Is there any like specific stories?
Yeah. So specifically for this point specifically, the power of building together and collectively unifying people. The story of Prophet Musa, it's really interesting. So when he had to go, he was told to go talk to Pharaoh. He wasn't like, I got this, let me go do it myself. He was like, can I bring my brother along? Can I bring Harun along? There's a lesson behind this, right? He's literally like not trying to fight the biggest, tyrant in the history. He's like, I need my boy with me. I need my brother with me. And it's like, let's go together. Let's support each other. And from there, I'll do my part, but I just need you to be with me. Like, that's what he was talking about. And it's a huge lesson because as a collective, we have to stop this scarcity mindset. We have to be like, I'm going to platform you. You're going to platform me. We're going to be together. We're going to grow together. Like, that's it. There's no such thing as cannibalization, even though we think there is in the surface level, because Allah can provide endlessly from means we'll never dream of. And so we need to have that mindset when we build in that direction. So that with Boycat, like, very similar. It's like, let's collectively bring all these really good brands together in one place. Let's platform them to everyone. Let's have consumers, when they shop now, they don't have to think about boycotting. They don't have to think about avoiding things. It's all clean money. It's all clean brands, products, and stuff that support you and your values. And so we want to create that database of a bunch of really cool businesses, platform them, and go in that direction. So the second is like provide information, and third is just change your behavior. Let's give you rewards. Let's empower you as a whole.
Makes sense. Yeah. How did you get that large distribution? Because obviously, like, you can build a good of a product as you can, but then if people aren't using it, or people aren't downloading it, then it's not going to have much impact as all. Like, how did that kind of happen? Because you scale very quickly, like as soon as you launch. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, it was actually crazy. I think Allah's blessing, right? That's the biggest thing. I can't take any credit for anything that's happened. Like, my life has changed so much, and the Boycat brand has changed so much. But it's simply just like, I want to help people. Allah's providing the way to do it. And so, in a practical approach, it's social media. As a founder, you have to build in public. Like, anything consumer, build in public. It'll go viral. Someone will hit it up. Press hit me up. It's just like, once you start building for others and like Allah opens up doors, the opportunity came. Like, the right person hit retweet, the right person hit share, the right person put on their story, and just kept going and going and going. And first day, $1,000, first month, $20,000, and then next month, $100,000. It's crazy exponential growth.
That's amazing. Yeah. What's the kind of plan now? Obviously, like, you've kind of had this core product. You kind of mentioned, like, the different kind of services that's in the app right now. Like, what's the plan for the next 5 years with the Boycat app?
The next 5 years is crazy. So I think when I think about Muslim economy, I think about individual, community, and infrastructure. At an individual level, we have to do our part, whether it's us starting a business, whether it's us doing, collectively unifying, understanding and purchasing power, learning, education. As a community, we need to start empowering each other, and then infrastructure is built for the lasting generations. Boycat isn't a short-term play. The short-term play right now is boycotting and helping people stand up with Gaza against their oppressor. But the medium-term play is, can we start building a Muslim alternative economy? And the long-term play is, can we build enough infrastructure so that way the next generation can use this economy and expand and never rely on companies and corporations that are against us? And can they have a seat at the table where decisions are made? That's our goal. And so in the next 5 years, we want to move towards the individual to that community. And the next 10 years, we want to move toward the infrastructure. Can we help build out this ecosystem of businesses and products and software and services that we never have to rely on someone else, that we can rely on ourselves? I think the really cool part is when we say Muslim economy or Islamic economy, we don't mean it's catered only for the 2 billion Muslims in the world. But the true definition of what that means is it's catered to everyone. It's the most highly ethical possible. And I think there's a distinction behind that. We have too many Muslim products. There's too many of them. We need more products by Muslims that just are meant for humanity.
Do you think it's more like a branding kind of issue? I do feel like, as we're getting larger as well, like, Muslims do like to put this Muslimic or Islamic kind of brand on it. Do you think that's part of the issue?
I think it definitely is, because why are you pigeonholing yourself right away? Just build this conference, build this product, and market to everyone, but show them that it's Islamically run. And by that, what that means is it's most ethical possible aspect. And, as Muslims, we should care about other people. We're never supposed to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
One of my sheikh friends in Medina, I was going through a period of time where everyone goes through this, like, let's go to Hijrah to Medina. Let's leave the West forever and, abandon everything.
Cut it off.
But, so another tangent. I get at least 5 DMs every week. Can you build Muslim X? Can you build Muslim Facebook? Can you build Muslim? It's like, no, we can't go into an echo chamber. But my sheikh was like, Islam is not going to spread because I'm sitting 5 times a day in the Prophet's Masjid, Masjid Nabawi, right? It's going to spread because you're in the West, you're in the public, you are the example that people need to see that of what Islam is, so Islam can spread. We cannot be pigeonholed. We cannot be shoved into a corner. We have to be out there with everyone and building. And, Islam is not like, I think there's multiple hadith talking about this, but dawah is not just through words. It's through your actions. And that's super important that we can be out there building things, showing people, communities, teams, whatever it is. Like, you don't have to build a software product, but showing that what a real Muslim is. We need to do that because it has a bad connotation right now.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Just going back to the Boycat story, like, when you launched, you're going super viral. News outlets were like hitting you up. But during this time, you also got a phone call at work, which led to you then getting fired. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, I was Al Jazeera, BBC, couple outlets or whatever reached out. They platformed me. I was viral right away, I think 60, 70, 80 million views in the first week on those different platforms. And that really took Boycat to the next level. But what really like aligned there was a sacrifice that had to come. I had a decision to make, basically. And I asked this question a lot to myself, but I'll ask it to you after. But the story behind it was on the platform. Those interviews got circulated in my work group chats because someone saw it somewhere and they started posting about, hey, look at our our buddy that's leading product here doing whatever. And then I get a mystery performance review that just happens, and it's like no technical skills, no product growth mindset, wasn't helping the business achieve its goals. And it's funny because like no technical skills is funny because I taught myself how to code in a month, like in November. I built the product from 0 to 1 in December. I launched it in January. It went viral. And I think when they fired me, I was reaching peak users at the time where I had more monthly active users than they did. And that's funny because all 3 of those things are just garbage at that point. But alhamdulillah, it proved to me like Allah opened up the door to just completely get fired and leave, and then pursue something that's actually changing the world.
Is it difficult for you? Because obviously, like, you know, you're used to coming from that California, Silicon Valley, like, you know, all your friends are Google engineers or big tech engineers, or like, you know, they're leaving to build, you know, $1 billion like startups. Whereas like you're pursuing something that's a little bit more purpose driven. And for the Akhira as well, like, does it ever like tie you down that, you know, perhaps that in this life that, you know, you're not getting those kind of worldly kind of gains? Like, how do you kind of shift your mentality to kind of push through that?
This world's so temporary, man. Like, we're watching, like, if you just watch what's happening in Gaza, and I know that we're probably all desensitized to it, which is unfortunate. There are kids that never got to see their first birthday. There are kids that never got to see their fifth birthday, never got to see whatever. The fact is, like, you can leave at any point in time. It may not be from, you know, a bomb getting dropped on you, but if Allah wants, you're gone. You may never wake up. And the reality is, what is forever? Forever is the next life. And if you're not building towards that, then what are you doing? But there's a balance between that, because there are often people like, let me just go build it for the afterlife, never build in this life, and they leave their responsibilities here. But it's like, you're supposed to build towards both. In Surah Yusuf, it talks about like wisdom and knowledge, and how Yusuf was able to, like Prophet Yusuf was able to lead an economy and lead the treasury, right? There's no arrogance or a thing that comes with it. Like, he had to lead a nation. He had to be humbled in jail. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, what I learned is there's so much barakah in being at the lowest point and being stuck there than being able to enjoy the riches of like this life and so on from there. Like, when you understand that he had to be humbled and be thrown into slave market, and then from there rise to the top and, you know, do what he had to do, it was a full mission. It was never just like stay in jail for the rest of your life and then that's it, you'll go to Jannah. It was like, no, you're going to get the blessings, you're going to get the right opportunity, take them, build it, save the economy, save the nation, do what you need to do, and then lead the nation. Like, that's what you have to do. And we have to learn how to do that. It's a balance of understanding we have to build for this life and the next. It's never mutually exclusive. And if you can find something that builds for both, you're in the best place.
Yeah, it's not sufficient for us to just, you know, go by our usual days, you know, just do our prayer. Like, we do actually have to like strive for the next life at the same time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's hard in the West because you have this mentality of, you know, the cutthroatness.
Yeah.
But my trip to Australia pretty recently, I learned how authentic and genuine people are. And it's still a Western country, quote unquote. And I went to like Malaysia, Singapore, and places and more Eastern. And they're so authentic and genuine people, man. I just wish that they learned how to build a little bit. And if you combine the two beauty parts of them, it's like they will create a crazy new generation of builders in the economy.
I'm sure there's like people watching this who are like inspired by your story, but, you know, perhaps, you know, they don't come from that tech kind of background, but, you know, perhaps they want to make some change, you know, they want to build something, they want to build like some technology or some app. What's your advice to them for getting started and for like scaling something as well?
AI. No, the real, like, true story, man. Like I told you, November 2023, taught myself how to code in a month. You know, built something in December and launched. Like, that was it. But the beauty of it is like social media and like, look, we're connected because of social media. Who would have thought a year and a half ago that some kid from random California and some kid from, you know, UK that ended up moving to Dubai is going to be on a podcast in 2025? Like, social media connects you. Build in public. Talk about what you're doing. You know, don't brag, but, you know, be humble in how you kind of go about things and understand you have a role to play. And then just do it. AI tools help a lot. YouTube videos help a lot. Most things have been built in the past. Like, you just have to take inspiration and take what works.
Yeah.
And if you really want inspiration and you really want like motivation, like, take the Prophet's stories. Like, everything you need, all answers, they're all there in the Quran, in his story, whatever it is.
Is there a particular story or hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that you think about a lot or that you reflect upon a lot during your own journey?
I think one that really reflected on this one specifically was the story of the Hijrah. So when the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr went, they had to stay in a cave to avoid the people that were there, and then they finally got to Medina. There's actually a huge lesson in this story, and it's don't be super loud and just charge head first into like fighting quote unquote oppression in the world, right? And oftentimes I get the question like, hey, are you ever worried about being public? Are you worried about doing this? And like, oh, someone's from a corporate, it's like, hey, I really want to do something, but I'm afraid for my family, and so on from there. But it's a balance, right? They didn't just run straight from Mecca to Medina without worry like, oh, I'm being chased, whatever, it's going to happen. It's, I'm going to be strategic. I'm going to pick the right person that comes with me. I'm going to go hide in this cave, and Allah will take care of the rest. And the beauty of that is that sometimes you have to be stagnant. You have to be strategic in how you approach these things. And then when the opportunity comes, you take it and go. But you have to just trust Allah is going to take care of everything that's out of your control. And there's an arrogance that we have where we think 99.9% God's in control. that 0.01%, I can control a little bit. I can control the outcome. I can control when I get out of this door. I can control like when this tweet goes live or whatever it is. But the reality is you have to submit fully to that, and Allah will take care of the rest.
I heard the Israeli government try to buy your app. What's the story behind that?
Okay, the crazy story is they launched a $150 million fund just to preserve their image and help them out. Literally 2 weeks after that happened, first offer letter came, second offer letter came. Next week, third offer letter came, and another fourth one. And then we recently got 2 more like past 2 weeks. I'm like, wow, I can't believe someone wants to buy my company. Let me look into this. And then you start diving deeper into these companies and stuff, and they're all formed in 2025 somehow. They all have the same street address or whatever, and they're all based out of Tel Aviv. I'm like, wait, that's so weird. Let's have some lawyers look into one just to see what's going on. Have some lawyers look into it, get an offer letter. Boom, 8-figure deal. I'm like, whoa, I could retire my like family with this. You know, it's like, but then there's no barakah in it, right? And I would never want to sell out people that have supported me and built this thing, and they're relying on me to help not be the person that does it, but maybe a pioneer in the space that helps build the Muslim economy. And dude, when you see that many zeros on a check, dude, it's like
It tests you.
It tests you, man. But there's no barakah. And there's so many stories, so many books about it, but the reality is like Muslim and whatever, it's not a business that I'm trying to build. It's a contract I'm building with people that I have to honor the contract. I have to make sure we do things in the right way, because that would be a short-term win, but it's not a long-term win where we can create this economy. We can prevent any oppression from like happening in the world. That's what we want to do.
Yeah. It's not been the only time that you've got the wrong intention from the Israeli government. I know that you got targeted. Your app's been targeted multiple times. It's been like delisted on the App Store. Can you talk to us a little bit about those stories? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah. If you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong. 100%. Right? And I have the biggest hater right now. So if you go on LinkedIn and you type in Boycat, you'll see like 10 or 15 posts right off the top that are just like random, Zionists and pro-Zionist people that are like, hey, we need help right now. There's this app called Boycat. It's doing this amount of thing. It has this many millions of people on it. Everyone go hit the 3 buttons on the top right of the App Store, report error, and say, this makes me feel like I'm harassed or something like that. Like there's an actual post. I tweeted about it, went viral. I will go back to that lady's post, and there's like 50 comments of people like, supporting Boycat and saying choice words to her and stuff like that. But that's like one part of it. The second part of it gets more serious, where now you're getting emails, letters, DMs that are more death threats and like, hey, if I ever see you, this is going to happen. If whatever, blah, blah. It's like, try stepping foot outside of America. We'll see what happens. Things like that. The next level is, they try to shut you down from an infrastructure point. Like they work with Google. They try to take us down, reports, whatever, blah, blah. And then alhamdulillah, we had the right connections. Allah provided. He protected us. Met some of my best friends that were able to, really help us out. One of them in particular, she really worked with the trust and safety team to really make sure that we were good.
Nice.
And now they'll never be able to touch us at Google. And the next step is, buy us out, shut us down. And there's a future step, which I'm glad they never got to at a certain point, but that's just shutting you down completely, and I'll disappear. But inshallah, with all these podcasts out there, I'm a bit too high profile now for that to happen.
Nice. How do you kind of view those kind of like threats? Obviously, it must not be nice, the fact that, you have so much negativity thrown at you. Obviously, you're a bit of a, higher profile kind of person, because you're obviously doing some activism work, for your app. You're talking about the Palestinian cause. Yeah, I mean, how do you like deal with that kind of negativity? Like, what's your kind of like mental model to like push through all of this?
That's tough. I think it was never overnight. It was built. The first thing that I think about when you ask that question was, I always get a question saying like, are you ever worried about your family? Are you worried about your brothers and sisters? Like, I don't have a sister, but brothers. The answer to that is, why does someone that lives with me matter more than the people in Gaza right now? Obviously blood and ties and stuff like that, but in Islam, like, we're all together. Like, that's my brother and sister dying, that's my aunt and uncle dying, that's my grandfather dying, that's my grandmother dying, that's my niece and nephew dying. So like, my family over there in Palestine is already at risk at that point, if you consider it in that perspective. And it's important that we have that perspective, because that'll let you really make the right decisions. Yeah, my brother and my mom, my dad are important, but those people are also just as important. The second thing that I think about is Allah, like, in the story of Yusuf, he was stuck in jail for quite a while time. It wasn't one night and then the dream came and he had to go solve it. He was stuck there for a while. And I like to equate my life as much as I can to those stories so I can draw inspiration and kind of get out of that rut. And so for me, I was quote unquote stuck in a jail. I was stuck in the corporate jail. I was stuck in a comfortable situation, which alhamdulillah wasn't a jail, but I was stagnant. I wasn't fulfilled. I was trying to figure out what I need to do. But during that time, a lesson that I really, really got into, and I encourage everyone to get into, is like the practice of tahajjud. And that mental model of fighting whatever desire you have, especially in winter, to pull the sheets over, go make wudu and go pray, really drove discipline into me. And it really drove like, trust God, and he's going to take care of everything. You're going to talk to him. He's going to talk about all your worries. He's going to ease everything. He's going to provide an outlet for that. And over the years of me being able to practice that, and, you know, being able to bring my friends along and family along to do those things, the mental model of trust God just cemented in me. So like, there's nothing I worry about now. I'm like, if God decides to take me, he decides to take me. If they try to do something and God says no, it won't happen. And if he's like, it's time for you to go, and they try something, that's it. So it's simply just trust God and understand like what forever is, like Jannah and the afterlife. Like that's all we want to achieve, right? That's what we need to achieve for and strive for. This life is so short, man. It's so short. Like, look at us. We're almost, 30s and stuff, hopefully in that range, mid-20s to 30s. Blink of an eye, we'll be 50. Another blink and, we'll have grandkids inshallah. Another blink, we'll be gone. I guess that's it. Like, do you remember anyone from 2 years ago that may have passed? You have to think about that for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be remembered. So just focus on the future and focus on, building now and focus on what comes from there. And that's kind of my mental model.
Makes sense, yeah. What have you learned about yourself during the past couple of years?
I hate politics. Some of the things I learned that if you have Islam as a center of everything you do, you're going to be successful. If not in this life, in the next. Like, when I watch people in Gaza and I watch those people, it's like, there's multiple tweets about this. I'm going to steal the quote, but pretend it's mine. But it's like, how do you defeat people that know that death is the end? That's true. You can't, right? And so whatever you do, it's like, how can you lose to someone that knows death is the end? And so from there, you just move in that direction. It's like, there's a forever out there. And that's what you need to do. Really build in that direction. What was your question again? Oh, lessons out. Sorry. That's a big one. It's like, cement Islam as the center. The second is like, really just, I learned how patient I am and how dedicated I can be. But I also learned how fortunate I am. I don't have to worry about things being dropped on my house. And I realized another really important thing is not necessarily about myself, but I think about others, is that as a collective, we have a lot of power. And I think now we're having discussions where we're talking about building this economy, talking about building this product and so on from there. And we never had that conversation 10 years ago. Some more lessons is like understanding that there's a set right time for everything. You're in the right place at the right time because Allah wanted you to be. All right. And I think the last lesson that I really internalized, and like the beauty of it is like I got closer to Islam and like the Quran especially. And one of the stories of Prophet Musa post Fir'aun, him and his people were wandering for years. And that's wild if you think about it. It's like, maybe you should have just achieved victory like that. But their hearts weren't ready for victory. And sometimes as people, we think about, let's scale a product, let's grow as fast as we can, let's do what we need to do. And I learned that you have to have the right heart that will accept the truth and accept the right things that needs to come, so you can build for the next generation. And for me, I'm at a kind of stage where I had viral growth, but now I'm a little stagnant on purpose. And I didn't understand why I was choosing to be stagnant a bit until I realized what it was. From a KPI perspective, I was like, let's focus on retention. Let's focus on making sure people come back, gamification, things like that. From an Islamic perspective, I was looking at it like, if we grow too fast right now, we're not building up the right trust, the right values, the right authority in the space for everything, and making sure that the people that are supporting us have the right heart so we can build for the generations to come. But right now, what we're doing outside of the KPI numbers is we're basically getting to a point where we can prepare ourselves for the next generation that deserves that promised land, right? That's what we want to do. When I say promised land, building that Muslim economy and the alternative economy where we rely on ethics and morals, and we put our money in the right place. Yeah,
makes sense. What's your biggest fear in this journey? What keeps you up at night?
Obviously, disappearing. But I think the real things is, I think with anyone that gets a lot of fame pretty quickly, I'm not saying I'm famous, but going from a no one to someone that can basically call and FaceTime any sheikh in the world, like most celebrities and stuff. Like sometimes I wake up to like a random celebrity follow me. I'm like, who are you? Like, how do you know me? And like it's wild in that case. But I think one of my biggest things that I'm trying to make sure my intention is always really pure. And I worry that at some point that I could fall into those traps of, oh, I don't need to take this meeting. I don't need to talk to this person. I'm a little bit better than them. I think the arrogance of the success is what I'm worried about. And I try my best every week to realign my intention no matter what, so I never feel like that. And I expect the people around me to call me out if that ever happens. I think my biggest fear is becoming arrogant at some point.
Makes sense. If someone wants to support this cause or support Boycat, how can they get in touch? What should they do?
Yeah, I get the question a lot. I think from an individual level, it varies. There are people that have more capacity and the people that have less capacity. If you're on the lower capacity side, sharing, following, talking about Boycat, giving it to your friends is really important. If you have media capacity, you can support a little bit financially. Becoming a member really helps. Because as sad as it is, even though we have a $10 million offer on the table from who, the Muslims don't want to back us. The ethical people don't want to back us. And we've been struggling to raise money because of that and make this a full-time thing. Because it needs to be a full-time thing. It needs to be something that I've watched my bank account go from 6 figures down to almost 4 figures. And I put all my own money into this. I try my best to pay my friends and do what I need to do. But that lack of support from a financial perspective is real. Because we can't build things for free. We need to build things that, can sustain itself, outlive me and grow in that direction. I'm not chasing money, by the way. I'm chasing barakah. Yeah. But at the same time, I need to provide for my own family. I need to make sure I take care of myself and so on from there. So buying memberships and helping donate and, doing that thing really helps a lot. And if you have more capacity, investment's really helpful. Like we want to give back and allow you to succeed as well. But it's a long-term play. It's not a short-term play. You're not going to get your 100x return like most, VCs expect in the first year. You're going to get your 100x return in a couple of years, but we need to build infrastructure properly. Yeah. And if anyone wants to answer this question for me, that'd be great. The question is, at what point and how much do you balance building for the community versus building for yourself? Because when do you start prioritizing yourself a little bit more? When do you start thinking, oh, I should focus on marriage, I should focus on getting kids, I should focus on this and taking physical care of my family, so on from there. Versus there are people that just choose to build for the community selflessly. And how do you balance that? Yeah. It's an interesting thought because, even if you look at some of the companions, some of them, put off, marriage or put off having kids, during the life of the Prophet ﷺ, they would just emphasize their study and their ibadah, maybe only after the Prophet ﷺ passed away or, perhaps, certain periods of their life that they kind of decided to do that. But of course, that's the reason why they became so high in status. That's the thing that, put barakah in their life. So perhaps, that's, my 2 cents of advice to yourself as well. Perhaps this is the time in your life where you're kind of focusing on that and that will open doors later on in your life. But yeah, I pray that Allah continues to put barakah in this. So if you can leave one message to the audience, to the Muslim Ummah, what would it be? All right. I'm reading off my phone because I have a list of one-liners and lessons that I just read consistently. And I don't want to mess this up because it's so important. The lesson that I want every single Muslim out there to understand, even if you're not Muslim and if you're just trying to build like a prophet, not for power, but for accountability. And what that really means is that if you look at it from a prophetic threads perspective, the 3 prophets that I talk about the most and the ones that I really draw inspiration from, Prophet Yusuf, he didn't seek leadership or status. He said, put me in charge of the treasury because I'm knowledgeable and trustworthy. Out of humbleness, he acknowledges the gifts he had. He asked to rule, but not to protect necessarily, right? Prophet Musa, he didn't want spotlight. He feared public speaking. He had a stutter. But even then, Allah commanded him to go speak to Pharaoh, and he needed his brother to be there to support. So he did what he had to do no matter what. He built in a prophetic way. Prophet Muhammad, even when offered kingship, he was asked, do you want to live like a king or do you want to live amongst your people, the less fortunate? His goal was never to own this world. His goal was to guide it back to its purpose and focus on the next. So with Boycat, I think I'm not building it for profit. I simply built it because I couldn't not build it, if that makes sense. There's an amana that we all have that we have to use our talents, our skills, and do what we have to do, that we're commanded to do, no matter what we want to do or not. I think don't build to be celebrated in this life, but build to be held accountable by the day of judgment. Because the future Muslim kind doesn't necessarily need more CEOs. We need more prophetic shepherds or stewards in that sense. We need people that focus on building with an Islamic background. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to build the next prayer app or the next Qibla finder that we have a billion of those already. It's build the next thing that we as a community, we as a humanity need, and run it with the Islamic principles.